Organizations struggle to keep employees focused and morale high. There's just so much going on in the world. Remote work, cultural differences, changing expectations. It makes it harder day by day for us to connect and focus and be productive together. In fact, only 1 out of 3 US workers are engaged and enthusiastic about their job, according to Gallup. Business leaders need an effective solution to this challenge. How can they boost employee engagement while still meeting and growing the bottom line? At WPO, we've created an employee engagement model. This model has 4 pillars. So the 4 pillars we're going to talk about today is 1, we're going to talk about the organizational objective. What does the company want as the outcome? The team objectives and outcomes, the individual needs, and then the leadership strategies that we want to build against. When we think about employee engagement, and specifically the employee engagement model, we want to look at how an individual really wants to be thought of, treated, and able to show up at work. Highly engaged employees generate 18% more in sales and 14% more productivity. The workplace experience fosters team outcomes of collaboration, productivity, innovation, and retention. Collaborative teams are 5 times higher performing because they feel motivated towards a common goal. Organizations with high levels of inclusion see innovation numbers that are 5.5 times the median year-over-year revenue growth. We're all looking at how to reduce turnover costs in our companies because knowledge work has a lot to do with people being with the organization, living with the organization, and feeling comfortable to stay with the organization and grow their careers. Turnover costs are more than 30% of the salary of a lost employee. So let's talk about the 3 types of costs when we're looking at turnover. Your separation costs, your recruitment costs, your productivity costs. All these things go into that bucket of how do we make more money, how do we reduce our costs, and how do we reduce our risk by having a more engaged employee workforce. When we think about communication, businesses that communicate most effectively are 50% more likely to have lower turnover. We're talking a lot about the numbers around employee engagement. And it's super important because that's the language of leadership. But now let's pivot just for a minute and look at the individual needs that drive employee engagement. Things like well-being, belonging, trust, professional development. And one of the key pillars is a term called psychological safety. In order to create an environment that employees feel that they can bring their best self to work, they have to feel that they can, number 1, be authentic, number 2, that the feedback loop within the organization is authentic and trusting. And here's the thing, that as employees, they feel safe pushing against the status quo, sharing ideas that might not be popular, but they're the right thing to do for the business. And so as leaders, what we want is we want the best people, but why would you want the best people in your organization without giving them a foundation to be their best self at work? Another way to think about psychological safety is there's 76% more engagement across the organization when leaders create an environment where people feel comfortable to be their full self at work. When we think about leadership, and now in particular the employee engagement model and how we work through these pillars, we want to come back to a phrase called trust. It's really difficult to build trust in this chaotic business environment these days. We've got a crazy election that's really split the country in half. We've got all kinds of stressors that employees are dealing with that bleed into the workplace. Trust is built when you send out surveys to measure employee engagement, and as a leader, you actually follow up on the information from those surveys. So when we think about employee engagement from the individual's perspective, then we have to have well-being, belonging, trust, and professional development as a part of the strategic outcomes we expect to grow our organization. Most people don't leave companies. They leave managers, and they leave organizations where they don't see a path forward in their professional development and growth. And so when we look at the individual needs from an employee engagement model, we want to focus on the things, A, that we can control, B, that really matter to the employees, and C, that we need to promote on a consistent basis in the leadership behaviors of our people managers.